So the White House is expected to hold more high-profile talks with South Korea today as the president signals he may de-escalate tariffs on China to ease tensions, maybe take them down a little bit.
Lucas Tomlinson is live in Washington with the details for you. Hey, Lucas.
Well, good morning, Steve Ainsley and Brian. Brian, I hope you got some sleep last night after that late night. China signaling it's open to talks, correct, but warned it will not negotiate under continued pressure from the White House. And President Trump threatened to move forward with levying some tariffs on countries in the coming weeks, absent new trade agreements.
In the end, I think what's going to happen is we're going to have great deals. And by the way, if we don't have a deal with a company or a country, we're going to set the tariff over the next 2-3 weeks. We'll be setting the number, and we're going to pick, could be for China too, could be for China.
As you mentioned off the top, the Wall Street Journal reports the Trump administration is considering slashing its steep tariffs on China by as much as in half in an effort to de-escalate tensions. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, however, says Trump has not offered to take down tariffs on China on a unilateral basis.
China's current economic model is built on exporting its way out of its economic troubles. It's an unsustainable model that is not only harming China, but the entire world. China needs to change.
And here's White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt at the White House yesterday.
Marriage actually worked because China hasn't made any concessions at all.
Have some patience and you will see.
A new Fox News poll shows only 33% of voters approve of Trump's tariff plan. More than a majority, 58%, disapprove. And a dozen Democrat-led states have sued the Trump administration over the tariffs, arguing the president does not have the power to impose them. They say only Congress has the power to legislate tariffs. In Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, it does say that Congress shall have power to lay and collect duties, taxes, imposts, and excises, guys.
That's right, Lucas, but the Republican-led leadership would have to bring about that kind of stuff, and they're not really likely to do that.
That's correct.
Okay.
All right. Good job,
you,
Lucas.
Thank you, Lucas.
A lot of tension in London because I think things are coming to a head. I think you have the Ukrainians, you have the Germans, you have the UK, obviously, then you have the U.S.
France,
and, France, and the Secretary of State says, I'm not going to go, and Woodcock says, I'm not going to go. He's upset that Zelensky's making a hard stance saying, I'm not going to give up Crimea, and I don't blame him. If things like that happen, and it's hard to imagine Russia backing off the territory that they have, although they've agreed to back out of some areas of Kharkiv, they're never going to acknowledge, it's very typical at the end of conflicts, acknowledge the stolen land, which was literally stolen in 2014, and they expanded it again with an invasion a couple of years later. So you could still have Russia in Crimea and have a deal. But for Zelensky to come out and go, yeah, we're giving up on that, that's never going to happen, even though it could be the end result, because in the back of their minds, down the line, there might be something where Ukraine gains power or Russia gets a sane leader, and they realize they should not have stolen to begin with.
Well, we're going to be talking about that throughout the morning, but going back to what Lucas was talking about internationally, once again, it is good that the president is softening his stance on China, and it makes it sound like something is going to be happening. And that's really good. But you've got to wonder why exactly he's doing that. Keep in mind, what he's doing is really hard, trying to realign global trade balances. And Peter Navarro promised 90 deals in 90 days, and that's really hard to do. That only leaves 11 weeks to get a lot of stuff done. You've got to think that the president probably is looking at the numbers. And Lucas just talked a little bit about a brand new Fox News poll that shows that tariffs are unpopular with the American public. 72% of Americans say that the tariffs are making things more expensive. 55% say they are hurting the economy. And 44% say they are hurting jobs. And when it comes to one other number, when you look at the S&P 500, it has gotten off to the worst start of any presidency going back to 1928, which is when they started keeping records. You've got to figure that you've got somebody like Peter Navarro pushing for the tariffs, and then you've got Scott Bessent and Howard Lutnick who are saying, okay, we've got to keep in mind the markets and people are getting hurt.
Well, the administration is saying that these discussions are fluid, that there are several options on the table. The president yesterday, he was out on the White House lawn. He was out there to find a good location to erect this new huge American flag. He's going to put one on both sides, the north side and the south side of the White House. And then he was talking to the press and just saying that this is all fluid. There are options on the table. These tariffs for China are very high. They're going to come down. But then Beijing is warning that it's not going to negotiate under the continued threats from the United States. So Trump is softening his stance. Maybe Beijing will come to the table because they're not being as threatened as they were before, and maybe they will come to an agreement.
Couple of things. Scott Bessent's all in on the tariffs. He was all in on the tariffs when he was just a nominee and a thought about becoming Treasury Secretary. And what he's trying to say is, along the way, don't light up Jay Powell because it hurts the market. Don't say things that are going to hurt the market temporarily because you can affect it. The main goal is happening. He's restructuring trade relationships for the future. And it was always a way to approach this was hit him hard with tariffs, reorganize, especially as Kevin Hassett said last night. He said, he goes, keep your eye on what's happening with India. We were getting, there was such an imbalance with India, and it's already, we already have a framework to fix it. An imbalance with South Korea, a framework to fix it. Japan, they're working out the details now. There's always been an imbalance. So along the way, that's why the 100-day poll should not even matter. Not only is he not running for re-election, when you try to do major things, when you disrupt things, obviously people are going to be upset. But in the big picture, if things come together and we reorganize these relationships with friends and foes, especially with China, the whole country benefits. You know what? Trump's the next 4 years are going to be even better and more even than these 4 years or in the next 2 years. And I would keep something else in mind. TikTok. TikTok is flooding the number one app. The 100 million people are getting it with anti-American, pro-China, sympathetic stories and opportunities to go directly to manufacturers to buy things. So not only do you have the press against Trump every single day of the week, now you got the number one social media app owned by China subtly putting into your algorithm negative things about the U.S., how you're bullying China, how you're being mocked. They're using AI images to show the vice president with eyeliner on and the president showing he doesn't know what he's doing. So just keep in mind, when you look at your algorithm, they're not responding to you. They're being controlled by China.
Brian, I don't know what your algorithm is, but all I've got on my TikTok is cat videos and things with cute grandkids.
You got to see this. Read the first story in the New York Times.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.